They say grief can make you see things. Maybe that's true. Or maybe, what I saw today was real. I was buying tomatoes at the Adome market when I heard a voice behind me say, "Oga, your wallet just fell." I turned around, and my breath caught in my throat. It was Ifeoma. My wife. The same woman I buried last year, after a fatal car accident. She looked at me like a complete stranger. Her hair was packed into a bun. Her skin glowed. She looked healthier than I ever remembered. I managed to say, "Ifeoma." She gave a small smile and said, "Sorry, sir. You must be mistaking me for someone else." Then she turned and walked away. I stood there like a statue. Wallet in one hand. Tomatoes in the other. I couldn't move. Ifeoma died. I saw the wreck. The body was badly burnt. Everyone said it was her. We buried her in my father's compound back in Enugu. My entire world shattered. So who did I just see? I followed her. She walked fast, cutting through the side of the market where they sell used clothes, then past the men roasting suya, and finally down a narrow dirt road behind the palm oil stalls. I kept a distance, hiding behind kiosks and stalls, trying not to attract attention. Eventually, she reached a quiet compound with a green gate. A little boy ran out and hugged her. "Mommy, welcome." Then a man came out. He wore a wrapper and a polo shirt. He smiled and kissed her forehead. She laughed and said, "You won't believe what happened." One man called me Ifeoma at the market. He laughed too. That same laugh she once loved from me. I felt cold. Confused. Lost. I ducked behind a wooden fence, my chest thumping. Was this real? Was this a cruel trick? Was I losing my mind? Then she turned slightly. Our eyes met, just for a moment. I ducked. My palms were sweaty. My legs weak. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on the edge of my mattress, staring at nothing. I kept hearing her voice. Kept seeing that moment. Was I crazy? Or did my wife fake her own death? By morning, I wore my cleanest shirt and headed back to that compound in Adome. She was outside, watering plants. When she saw me, her eyes widened. "David," she said, barely above a whisper. "You shouldn't be here." I looked her straight in the eye. "I buried you. I cried for you. I mourned you. I nearly ran mad." "Why?" A man stepped outside the door, but she raised her hand. "I need to talk to him," she told him. We sat outside, on a wooden bench near the mango tree. Then she told me everything. The loans we didn't know about. The pressure from her family. The shame after 2 failed pregnancies. And the crash, how she was pulled from the wreck alive by strangers. How she saw a chance to disappear. So she took it. "A woman helped me cross into Togo," she said. "I stayed here. I started again. I didn't think you'd ever see me again." I clenched my fist. "You let me bury an empty coffin. You let me suffer alone." She wiped her tears and said, "I didn't know how to undo it." Then, this new life happened. He helped me. And we fell in love. I stood up. Not because I was okay. Not because I had closure. But because sometimes the dead don't stay buried. They just choose to disappear. I walked away from that compound in silence. My mind wasn't working. My legs were moving, but I didn't feel them. I passed through the same market where this all began, where my dead wife had called me sir, and walked away like I was nothing. I returned to my lodge in Adome and sat by the window. I couldn't even cry. Just one question kept echoing in my mind. Why wasn't I enough? That evening, I called my sister in Nigeria. She picked up, cheerful. "David. How far now?" I wanted to lie. To talk about work. But my mouth betrayed me. I saw Ifeoma today, I said. Silence. Then she whispered, David, please don't do this again. You need to let her go. You're grieving. This. I'm not hallucinating, Amoka. She's alive. She's in Togo. She has a child and a man. She didn't speak for a long time. Then she said, send me the address. The next day, I went back to the compound again. I needed closure. Answers. Peace. Michael, the man, opened the gate this time. He looked serious, maybe even ready to fight. But I raised my hands calmly. I just want to speak to her. One last time. Please. He didn't say anything at first. Just stared. Then nodded slowly and called into the house. Ifeoma stepped out. She wore a plain wrapper and a scarf. No makeup. No defenses. Just her. We sat again under the mango tree. I asked her, does your son know about me? She shook her head. He thinks Michael is his father. I nodded slowly. And what about your family? Do they know you're alive? She looked away. Only my cousin. She helped arrange the documents. Everyone else believes I died. I exhaled sharply. So I was the only fool left in the dark. David, I didn't leave because of you. I left because I didn't want to die in that life. Everything was falling apart. I felt like I was already dead before the accident. I looked at her. She wasn't the same woman I married. But she wasn't a stranger either. She was something in between. Do you love him? I asked quietly. She hesitated, but then nodded. Yes. My heart sank, but not in pain anymore. In a release. That was all I needed to hear. I stood up. I don't know how I'll explain this to people. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just leave you in the grave where I thought you belonged. But I needed to see this for myself. I needed to know it wasn't a dream. She stood up too. David. I'm sorry. I didn't answer. I walked out of the compound with my head high, but my heart tired. That night, I stood by the window of my room, staring at the moon. I realized something. Sometimes we bury people not because they died, but because they left. And sometimes, even when the grave is empty, the morning is real. I lit a candle. Said a quiet prayer. Then blew it out. For me. Ifeoma died twice. The first time, I buried her body. The second time, I buried the hope of ever bringing her back. The end.